Claude Fable 5, Kimi K3, and Gemini 3.6 all claim to be the model you should be writing and coding with right now, and we ran the same 5 tests against all 3 to settle it. The biggest surprise, Kimi K3's own vendor benchmark undersells itself by nearly 17 points once you check an independent test. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which one deserves your subscription, and which one only looks cheap until you actually run the numbers. Pick the wrong model here, and you're either overpaying every single call or trusting a cheap model that burns through tokens faster than it saves you money. According to official pricing, Claude Fable 5 charges $10 per million input tokens and $50 per million output. Kimi K3 comes in at $3.15. Gemini 3.6 Flash undercuts both at $1.50 and $7.50. On sticker price alone, Gemini 3.6 wins clean. That's Gemini 3.6 1, Kimi K3 0, Claude Fable 5 0. But sticker price isn't the whole story. Community-reported testing on cost per completed rollout tells a different tale. Claude Fable 5 averages $13.41 per rollout, and Kimi K3 comes in at $4.65. Run that at 100 rollouts a month, and Kimi K3 costs you $465, while Claude Fable 5 costs $1,341, a gap of almost $900. Gemini 3.6 has no published rollout figure, so we can't score it here. Cheapest per token doesn't always mean cheapest per finished task, and that's exactly why the next test matters more than this one. My name is Brian, and I spend my week going through pricing pages, benchmark leaderboards, and community test reports, so you don't have to dig through 14 sources yourself. This is the test that decides whether the model actually finishes the job or leaves you cleaning up broken code. On SWE Bench Verified, Claude Fable 5 leads at 95.0%, the highest published number of the 3. Gemini 3.6 has no published figure here. On Terminal Bench 2.1, it's basically a coin flip. Claude Fable 5 at 88.0%, Kimi K3 at 88.3%. Call that a tie. One of the biggest problems I run into when using AI agents is turning their output into YouTube content I can actually use to market my product. That's why this video is sponsored by Subscriber, a tool that helps business owners connect their AI agents to YouTube and market their products without spending 10 hours every week creating content. You can connect Claude or ChatGPT directly to Subscriber. It then analyzes your business, website, and YouTube channel to help you create SEO-optimized video ideas, scripts, thumbnails, and even complete videos that actually match your brand. What I like most is that every week, Subscriber gives me a list of high-potential video ideas I can immediately execute. And it can even help edit videos for me, with or without my face, including videos like the one you're watching right now. It's easy to get started, and you can try Subscriber for free using the link in the description below. Now back to the video. On DeepSWE, a benchmark for complex task reliability, Kimi K3 leads at 67.5% against Gemini's 49%. And on the front-end code arena, Kimi K3 actually beats Claude Fable 5 outright, 1679 ELO to nothing published, winning 76% of head-to-head matchups according to community results. Added up, and Claude Fable 5 takes this test on the strength of its SWE bench lead, since that's the most cited, most trusted benchmark of the group. Claude Fable 5 won, Kimi K3 won, Gemini 3.6 won. 3 tests in, and every model has exactly 1 win. Kimi K3's own vendor figure sits at 76.8%, though an independent harness puts it at 93.4%, a gap we'll come back to later. That's not going to last. A model that codes brilliantly but takes forever to respond breaks your flow the moment you're iterating in real time. Community-reported throughput has Gemini 3.6 Flash blowing past both competitors at roughly 304 tokens per second, nearly 7.5 times faster than Kimi K3's 40.8. Claude Fable 5 has no published throughput figure at all, a real gap for a model charging premium prices. Time to first token flips part of the story. Kimi K3 answers in about 3 seconds, while Gemini 3.6 takes 12 to 15 seconds to get started, despite its faster overall output. Still, raw throughput matters more once you're generating anything substantial, so Gemini 3.6 takes this one. Gemini 3.6 2, Kimi K3 1, Claude Fable 5 1. Stick with me because the last 4 tests are where this decision actually flips. Hit an output ceiling mid-generation and you're stitching a broken response back together by hand. The real separation shows up in output. Kimi K3 can generate up to 1 million tokens in a single response. Claude Fable 5 caps at 128,000. Gemini 3.6 Flash caps the lowest at roughly 65,000. For a full repo rewrite or a massive single document, that gap is enormous. Kimi K3 takes this test outright. Gemini 3.62, Kimi K3 2, Claude Fable 5.1. We're tied at the top with one test left, and it's the one that decides whether you can even get your hands on these models the way your workflow needs. There is a real caveat on context and output limits worth naming before we score it. All three models share the same 1 million token context window, so that's a clean tie across the board. The best model on paper means nothing if you can't run it where you need it. Kimi K3 is the only one of the three shipping open weights, released July 27th, 2026, with day 0 support in VLLM. That means self-hosting is actually on the table, something neither Claude Fable 5 nor Gemini 3.6 offers. Kimi K3 also offers 0 data retention on its fast tier, while Claude Fable 5 holds a 30-day retention floor that's a deal breaker for some enterprise teams. On modality, Gemini 3.6 Flash covers the most ground, handling text, image, speech, and video input, ahead of Kimi K3's text, image, and video, and Claude Fable 5's text, image, and file support. That splits this test. Kimi K3 wins on open weights and self-hosting. Gemini wins on modality breadth. Since deployment flexibility carries more practical weight than input variety, Kimi K3 takes the test. Final tally: Kimi K3 3, Gemini 3.6 2, Claude Fable 5.1. Claude Fable 5 wins the one benchum. Here is where Kimi K3 clearly pulls ahead of the field. Now, here is where Gemini 3.6 clearly pulls ahead of the field. Claude Fable 5 wins the one benchum. One thing the docs never spell out will quietly cost you if you miss it. If this helped, the next breakdown on the channel goes even deeper.